Welcome to Miami.
Thank you.
So today we are in Miami in a very fun apartment filled with so much detail. And I found these really, really fun cards. And I want to start breaking the ice with some questions.
Okay. Let's do it.
All right. Joey, which memory do you wish you could relive from this year?
From this year, which memory do I wish that I can relive? Could I be perfectly honest?
Yeah.
And say, I have two that I want to say, and they actually happened this month. Yeah. Because, well, the first one, I mean, if we're talking in a span of 12 months, I'm going to tell you the Karol G concert.
Okay.
But if we're talking 2024, it would have to be the Adele concert. I love music so much, and I find inspiration in music. But, you know, we were anxious about this trip, and honestly, like meeting Amira for the first time, she's such a chill person, and getting to reconnect with you in person after so many months that we haven't seen each other. We had such a great time yesterday.
Aww.
Like the experience at the club was so great. Like we were just beach and it was just the ideas that were bouncing off of each other. It was so natural.
Aww.
And I love experiences like that.
Yeah.
Where it's like we just said, it doesn't involve anything crazy. It's just good company.
Fun, growth.
Soul. Yeah. Conversations that actually, give the brain a workout.
Yeah. And give the soul.
That was so much.
Oh, I love that. All right, Joe. What moment of kindness do you remember from this year?
Oh, wow. A moment of kindness. So was the kindness that I received or kindness that...
Let's say that you received.
That I received.
Waking up next to me every day.
Oh, that's a big one. That's a big question. Moment of kindness that I received. So when I have, I guess, one thing that happened fairly recently is we had someone fairly close to us to really let us know on how we've made an impact on their lives just by us being genuine, So to me, it was kind words to hear that, us living our truth and us living our lives and treating everyone fairly and just really, living by that golden rule or treat others as you wanted to be treated, and to just hear that doesn't really go unnoticed or for, taken for granted anymore. That's really nice.
That's beautiful. Thank you guys so much for sharing.
Of course.
So next we're going to be talking about the different paths towards parenthood as a gay couple. I think that a lot of people, actually most people do not know what the different paths are. What they do know, number one, adoption. Number two, embryo creation with your samples, and then surrogacy. Embryo donation and surrogacy, which a lot of people do not know about that. And then fostering. So one of the things that I did want to touch base with today is the different paths. What was your first initial reaction? What are we going to go for? And what did you end up choosing as a path for parenthood?
I think, so when we decided at an early age of not just our relationship, but we were also very young, and we agreed that we wanted to be parents, I'm very faith-driven. I'm very spiritual, and I believe that my purpose, the reason why I was, born this way, I was gay. I am still gay. But
Joe's like, wait, what?
But
thank you.
But the idea, my ideology was like, well, maybe I was put on this earth to be a parent for a child that doesn't have a parent. And so fostering and adoption was really our first initial route that we took. We took the adoption route, and unfortunately, we went through 2 failed adoptions, and it was heartbreaking. It was very heartbreaking, and a lot of money went into it, and we decided that, okay, this is my last shot. We're going to try surrogacy. and create an embryo. And my husband was very selfless and said, listen, my bloodline will live on. I have an older brother that has kids. I have a younger brother that has kids. I said, you are an only child and product of a single mom. So he was like, I think it should be you. And we did. And that's what happened. So, you know, I said, this is my final shot. If this doesn't work, we're just gonna get another dog and call it a day. Maybe a fish. I don't know. But because there was a sense of defeat at one point where it's just like nothing's working.
Yeah.
I felt that we were also feeling a little desperate too at one point, because it almost felt like people weren't taking us serious, and that's a problem that young gay couples are going to always be taken as, well, you're not old enough for old you know, it doesn't matter what check you write. You know, sometimes when you're working with these agencies, they won't take you serious, even though you do everything on the list. You check off the CPR classes, renew the first aid thing. Every year you do the social worker coming to your home, inspecting, and constant judgment. Like that, there was like 2 years of our lives that every time that we did something with children involved, it had to be a photo op, so that we can put it in the parent letter book, so that hopefully an expecting mother would pick us and say, oh, look, they're surrounded by children and dogs, and they look like they're having fun, and they look like they can give the kid a good life. And literally psychologically, that was our mental state of mind for the longest.
So for years, you guys had to, like, I guess, you know, try to convince, right, other people, other entities that you were well equipped and going to be good dads. Because from what I understood yesterday, it was years.
Yeah. So we had a total of about 7 to 8 year process, or what we call our journey. So we always call it a journey. That's always been how we introduce this topic to people. So, and we're still on our journey. You know, our daughter's now 4. She was born during the pandemic, and, you know, she's drove us crazy during the pandemic before she got here, and she's just still driving us crazy now. But adoption was our first goal that we wanted to, or our first avenue that we wanted to try out. And unfortunately, it wasn't for us. You know, it didn't allow us to create our family. However, as we tell everybody that we meet and everybody that meets Luna, if we didn't really go through those avenues, we wouldn't be where we are today. You know, we wouldn't be sitting here with you, you know, and we wouldn't have our beautiful daughter.
It's just crazy, because I always think about the first meeting. We went to Boston. It was my cousin's graduation. She was graduating from university. And we said, well, let's take advantage that the agency that we picked to go on this journey of surrogacy and embryo creation, their main offices are in Boston. So that was May of 2019. Luna was born May 9th of 2020. So
That was quick.
Oh, yeah.
And that is that he dragged his feet with selecting the embryo, the donor, the egg donor. And not that he was putting it off. He took a really careful time. We had 2 failed transfers. It wasn't until the 3rd that Luna was number 3. Yeah.
3.
So
Lucky number 3.
even with all of that, it took 12 months to have our daughter. And not one person came to inspect my home to see if we have alcohol and drugs. Not one person. I didn't have to sell myself to anybody.
Yeah.
So it's just shocking that you know, you're thinking, you're like, okay, I'm going to adopt in good faith, and you get scrutinized, but then you decide to go through the embryo creation or the surrogacy process, and it's just like,
And you have a baby in
1, 2,
12
3.
months. And you mentioned something very, very important here. And I think that we, I want to talk about the egg donor selection. Luna looks just like you. And anyone that knows nothing about this story would say, oh my God, that's Joe's daughter. So I want to hear about, because every parent is completely different. And when parents ask me, you know, what do most parents do? everyone is so different. Like, just like there are parents who can choose a donor in a day, there are parents that can choose a donor in, I don't know, a couple of weeks. Just like there are parents who I've been working with for over a year and they're still deciding on a donor. And that's probably, it's my next question is, what was the deciding factor? And I know it's different. What was your deciding factor? And then what was your deciding factor on selecting an egg donor?
Well, I had no say.
Okay.
And it wasn't because I felt like it was fair that if I was going to be the sperm donor, that I wanted Joe to have full. I mean, she would show me pictures. He would read, bios to me. I would give him input, but I let that be ultimately his decision. I wanted it to be, because I feel like that would make it that we both were in this together. Yeah. So yeah, I supported whatever he decided, but I did not do any of the research or the dwindling down. That was all him.
So what about you, Joe?
So with me, when we decided to get on the journey of having our family through surrogacy after many trials and tribulations, I was very okay with not being the quote unquote biological father. Okay. It didn't affect me. It didn't faze me. It actually continued to, I feel, as far as I was concerned, continue to play true to the reasons why we wanted a family anyway. I didn't need a biological child. To create a biological child doesn't mean that you're a parent either. That's not what a family is. A family, yes, blood and relation is a huge part of family, but that's not everything, Oh, sorry. I just had a moment. So, it's not a huge part to it as far as our journey was concerned that it had to be biological. So we met with our fertility clinic, and we went through the process of going through registries and donor registries and bios. It took me about a month to figure out. Yeah, it's not that bad. The thing about me and Joe is that when we say we're going to do something, we're getting it done. Okay. And that's always been kind of our driving force. Yeah. Well,
I really thought you were just going to open a page and just be like that.
Yeah, we didn't really understand the full.
So to me, I felt like it was.
And be like, that's going to be the donor. Okay, let's go.
Yeah.
But it's not until you're sitting there going through these databases that it really hits you. And it's like, well, this person in one way or another is going to always be a part of my family now. And they're always going to be in my life. Even if they're physically not there, even if they don't emotionally aren't there, you're still tied to us. You're still connected to us. And it was very important for me that our egg donor had a lot of the same qualities, a lot of family background information. I felt like I took it a few steps further. I wanted pictures of their siblings. I wanted to see, is mom and dad good looking? Because if mom and dad's not good looking, your siblings aren't good looking. I wanted to know what your brother looks like. Okay, if your brother's a very handsome man, I might be a little bit more interested.
I think the selling component was that the donor's bio mentioned that her occupation at the time was a character princess at Walt Disney World.
No.
So I like to say that Cinderella's Luna's mom.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, we say that all the time.
I'm getting emotional because I know that I've seen the pictures and the videos.
And you're the only person that's actually seen her in person.
Yeah, yeah.
The only person that we know that, personally that's seen her in person.
Yeah, so it's beautiful to put everything together because I've seen her. Obviously, I haven't had a chance to see Luna in person, but I obviously see her all the time in your Instagram.
All over Instagram.
Exactly. And then you guys, and now that you mentioned, I didn't know that. I didn't know that was the deciding factor or the ultimate,
Well, and then
There were a lot of things. She was going to school for marine biologist, which explains why the kid is obsessed with animals.
My daughter is obsessed with the aquarium, obsessed with animals.
Like there was a turtle in our pool and she wanted to keep it.
She wanted to keep the turtle.
The turtle was the size of that plant.
Yeah.
So you remember pieces from her profile and be like,
oh yeah,
oh my God, this.
Yeah, and it's things where I asked additional questions. And I was really scared to it in the beginning, to be honest, because I just figured, okay, well, we're going to get whatever we're going to get, because that's what we were told, and it was driven into our head with all of our other journeys we were on prior to surrogacy. It was, you get what you get. But now that I was able to be picky, now that I was able to be, really critique the donor, it was an experience that, to me, it just kind of helped me feel, by not being the biological parent, being just as important, just as involved.
Which is so weird, I think, now that I think about it, 4 years later. He was a lot more particular, obviously, with the egg donor selection. And there was surrogacy, with the surrogate herself, believe it or not. You weren't that picky? It was like the first person we kind of interviewed, and it was like, okay, do you like us? And then she's like, yeah. I'm like,
let's get home.
And then she's like, do you like me? And I'm like, yeah. I guess. And that's what and if anything, pandemic was crazy for all of us. Yeah. But it was a blessing in disguise, because again, our surrogate was in Illinois. We had no choice but to quarantine in Illinois. The agency called us and said, guys, you're in New York, you're in a hot spot, get out. We're accountants. So this is tax season. This was the year tax season was extended to July 15th. So I literally packed my computer, my desk phone, my cell phones, my work.
And every baby product we could possibly order off of Amazon.
And it was the most nerve-wracking thing. Of course, my baby shower is canceled. My mother's in tears. Okay. My grandmother's in hospice. And my mom was like, oh my God, please be careful. Something's going to happen. And I'm never going to forget that. Like that memory of her like in panic and giving me gloves and masks and Lysol. And I remember just driving and thinking, this is insane. It feels like, of course, the Joes are having a kid and the world has to.
It's finally happening.
But
now we're dealing with it.
During the pandemic.
We got to actually get to know Alicia and spend time with her family and her husband. What we were similar in, what we were different in. It was kind of weird because by the end of the first week, I was like, can I touch your belly? And she's like, yeah, go for it. And I'm just like, and I'm like emotional, and Joe's like, don't touch her. And I'm like, no, I'm like, my kid's in there.
He's like, that's in the rule.
And then
Rule 269.
Joe's a rule person.
Yes.
He's a stickler for rules. We got to know her kids, and she asked us, she was like, hey, how fast are you planning on leaving? And we're like, well, probably couple days later. And then she's like, yeah, do you mind, because I would like to say my goodbyes. And I'm like, so we actually stayed an extra week after Luna was born. The hospital was really good. I was scared again, but originally we were all going to be there at the birth, and then it dwindled down to only one person could be there. So we actually gave Alicia the option, we're like, do you want your husband to be there? In which she responded, he wasn't there for his first 3 kids' birth, so why would he be here for this one? But so I'm like, all right, Joe, you go ahead. He was in the room when she said it. So, but so Joe goes because he was adamant about taking his shirt off and doing the whole baby contact thing.
Yeah, skin to skin.
Skin to skin.
Until it actually happened. So
and then you're like, oh, girl.
Hey, wait, you're gonna bathe her first?
Yeah. So we wipe her down.
Yeah, like the hospital was really good. After the birth, they called me and he called me and said, hey, they said you could come in. They gave us our own room, which we struggled. One person slept on the twin size bed, the other person slept on the chair. And I'm like, where's the part when we get to roll her away? And they're like, no, you stay with her. I'm like, when you guys do that to the moms all the time, you let them sleep. Like, roll her away.
Roll her back to the
I'm on FaceTime with my friends, and I'm like, look at her. And Joe's like, get off the phone. And I'm like, oh my God. But honestly, it was just like, we got to spend time with her. We got to spend time with the surrogate. We got to spend time with Luna. And it was uninterrupted time. You know what I mean? Like, I can think back. I have such a big family, how Latinos are. they're by day 2, the whole family's inside the house when there's a new baby.
Yes, and the baby around.
And it was hilarious because
Piercing her ears, shaving her head. We have all these.
my cousin drove like 25 minutes to drop off gifts, and Joe just holds the baby in the sliding glass door like this, look, this is the baby. Okay, leave the gifts there. Bye.
Look at
But unlike our surrogate, our egg donor, for example, which we didn't know, had the ability to potentially be open with us and be involved. And those weren't things that we ever even knew existed. We had no idea. We just assumed it was a closed case.
But we were
situation.
very happy that it was closed case.
Yeah.
I wanted it to be.
In the beginning, we were open to it being open. And then once we started our journey, further along our journey, we were not interested in it being open anymore. It's a part of...
I feel like that's adoption. Adoption broke us.
Right.
Like, because,
I feel like knowing you guys, you would go for open, but given that you were,
And I said, no, I'm going to be selfish and I want nothing to do with anybody. This is my baby, not yours. And that's it, because, the adoption agencies, that's what they would tell you. They'll be like, well, the more no's that you check off, the longer you're going to wait, and it almost sounded like the less inventory you'll have.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the possibilities start to shrink. So now you start saying, okay, I am open with a child that has special needs. I am open with a child of any race. I am open with a child because if the birth mother wants to be involved. And because we just really wanted to start our family.
Yeah.
So when it came to this, but like I said, our last resort, I was just like, no.
No, closed. So that was a big decision for you guys. Obviously, knowing both of you guys. And speaking of decisions, one of the next decision you guys, I don't know if you've made it, but you will have to make is what happens to the embryos. I think that a lot of people go, throughout this journey and they have a beautiful baby girl. She's 4 years old now. And I think now you're at that point where you're like, okay, what's next? I'm sure everyone, especially from a Latin home, right, is asking you, "Yung segundo pa cuando? Yung segundo pa cuando?"
Oh my God.
This is another important decision.
I told my neighbor that I was coming down to speak to you, and she automatically her head goes to baby number 2. And I'm like, no. But, it's funny because when we first started our journey and when Luna was born, we were at a place in our life, in our relationship, that we were like, we're going to have another one. We're going to have one more.
Definitely.
We're going to shoot for the boy. Yeah. We told the doctor when we first found out that we had 6 viable embryos, we were like, we don't want to tell, I'm like, we don't want to know the sex. We want best to go first.
Yeah.
Best in grade. And he goes, well, I'm going to tell you anyway. Yeah, 3 boys, 3 girls. And I'm just like, great. Okay, so there's still the possibilities up there. Yeah. So right now, Luna was the 3rd transfer. So right now, I don't know what's there.
So you have 3 embryos.
3 males. It could be 2 males and a female. It could be, you know what I mean? I don't know what we have left.
Yeah.
But you know that you have to make a decision. Well, you don't have to. You could keep paying storage for the rest of your life if you want.
Well, a lot of things came to my mind. Yeah. What if something happens to Luna medically? Maybe we might need that for something. So, I've always thought about that. But life happens, right? And I feel like we evolved in our relationship, in our marriage. Mm-hmm. We went through ups and we went through downs, while having a baby. And I feel like that plus parenting has currently changed our minds whether or not we want to have another child. Mm-hmm. So as it stands today, I'm okay with my one and done. The process, as you know, is very expensive. And parenting is expensive. Having a child in today's economy is expensive.
And a little girl on top of that.
And, I love that I get to pay for Luna's tuition and be happy where she goes to school. I love that Joe can take her to karate twice a week and grandma takes her to gymnastics twice a week. And I get to take her to piano lessons on Fridays. I like that I can be able to afford to do that and live in a good school district, in a great neighborhood with a great house. and get to travel still and get to take her on vacation so that nobody dates her when she's in her teens or her 20s and try to impress her with
And
a
take her to
trip to
Miami.
South Beach. And she's going to be like, no, thank you. I was there already.
Are we going to Soho? Because if we're not,
I'm like, if we're not going to the Soho Beach house, I'm not going.
yeah.
You know, so like I love that I get to do that with Luna and my family. You know what I mean? Like I get to bring my mom and I get to bring my nanny and I get to bring, you know, my sister-in-law and my nephew and we get to do things as a family and experience things together. I feel like throwing another child in that wrench right now is going to be very difficult. Recently this year, I made some work-life balancing decisions. Normally, I take this. I go on the road in the summer and I do public speaking and teaching for for taxation and continuing education as an instructor with the nonprofit that I belong to. But I took the summer off. You know, literally, my boss called me this morning to make sure that I'm still on for the fall. But I did that because it was hard. Because he's home, and he's not only looking after Luna, but he's also now looking after our businesses. Because again, as entrepreneurs, we don't have all of our eggs in one basket. So he's keeping an eye on our real estate business. He's keeping an eye on the tax business. And keeping an eye on the home and the kid. So it's a lot on him. I'm on the road for 7 days straight, not eating like crap, sleeping in crappy hotels, waking up at 6 a.m, being in a suit by 6:30 and work until 5:30, sometimes even later at night, and driving 2 hours to each city destination. Like when I'm on the road, sometimes I go to 3 cities in 1 week, and I get home exhausted. I spend no time with her. I feel horrible. And then again, my first child, which is my business, needs my attention. So it's not like I can be like, all right, I'm going to take 3 days off and stay home. I have to get to the office right away the next day because I have clients to see. I have a responsibility to my clients, to my employees, to my business. It's my livelihood at the end of the day. It's how I eat. So to really be realistic, right? It's like, I like to identify myself as a feminist, okay? I believe that we are ready for the female president in the United States. I believe that anything a man can do, a woman can do better. I do believe it. And I love the fact that I have a daughter because I get to empower her and put that in her head so much. Again, I'm a product of a single mother, so I've seen what a woman can do. My mother always says, if I had English as my first language, I would have been president already.
Yeah.
You know?
We've known Beyonce before Beyonce was even born. Our moms, right? They were Beyonce.
100%.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it saddens me where, especially in corporate America, and I see this with my employees that are moms. They have to put their careers on hold because the husband says, I work, you do home and kid. But what if she wants to work too? Yeah. So it's the same concept in parenting, period. Here, there is no mom. There is no who's the woman in the relationship. No. Okay, we're both pumping in, and one does what the other one can't, and that's why it works. Yeah. So it's just like that. So it's like it wouldn't be fair to Luna, to ourselves, to our businesses, to our household, if we. I would love to. Yeah. I would love to. I would have loved to go on the journey again. Yeah. But
it seems like you're happy where you're at right now.
Oh my God, yes. Like I hear a baby cry, my eyes. I swear to God.
See now.
She was such a good baby. Luna was such a good baby. She let us sleep through the night. Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong. 6 weeks in, and she's having surgery.
Yeah.
She had we're changing her diaper, and we noticed that she had
a bulge.
That
ended up being a hernia.
A hernia.
Yeah.
She had two.
Two hernias. Yeah.
So at 6 weeks old, in the middle of a pandemic. Yeah. So he goes in as they're putting her down, Westchester Medical Center. I'm in Applebee's crying because I'm like, oh my God, baby, and it's COVID because I'm just all afraid constantly. So yeah, she gave me a run for my money. Yeah. Oh yeah, she's given us some scares already.
Still giving us
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Like with me, it would be as far as having siblings for my daughter, I would love to have siblings for Luna. I grew up with siblings, my best friend is my sister, and earlier this year, we just took her to Disneyland for her 4th birthday because she wanted to see Mickey Mouse. And we weren't coming to Florida unless you invited us. So that's the reason why we didn't come to Florida. We went to California instead. And we got to see our friends with their children and their children with their siblings.
That was a whole lot.
And it was a little difficult at one point, At a point we were trying to decide, we were automatically a no more children. And then you get to these points in life where you kind of see things and your eyes are open to things are a little different possibilities. But I agree with my husband 1,000%. I don't think we're at the stage now in our lives that I want a baby bag again. We had a beautiful baby bag. It was a Gucci bag. But, I don't really want to carry another bag again. Yeah. Right now, we fit perfectly in an airplane row, all three of us, nice and easy. But
which you get so upset for because it's not first class.
Yes. But as far as Joe and I in our upbringing, I had siblings, he didn't, but we both grew up poor kids, from the south of Yonkers. We made it out, we strove, and we worked hard, and our parents instilled that work ethic in us. So to me, it doesn't really make a difference as far as having one child or multiple children to have a child that's going to be successful, because that's always, again, in the back of our head as well. But, we're at the point where we don't have to worry about paying that tuition, like he was saying. We don't have to worry about not being able to do those extracurricular activities. We don't have to plan for certain trips and things like that. Again, from having 3 additional siblings and a 2-person working household where my parents were in as we were growing up, we still struggled to make ends meet, And one thing we've always prided ourselves on was we're not going to do something unless we can afford it. And it's not that we can't afford another child, but do I really want to say this is our lifestyle now with one child? And is it a possibility that we can't continue this lifestyle? Also, I love spoiling my daughter, okay? Like, we go out and she wants to go to Gucci and she's like, I want that cartera. And it's like, well, that's nice. You're not getting that one. But, it's not only the financial aspect of it, but it's also the emotional toll. As being entrepreneurs, our biggest concern other than the business is that work-life balance. Did we not call Luna in time before she fell asleep last night? Are we now on this work trip? And we have, at least I have that guilt in the back of my head where it's like, she could have still been at the beach with us this morning, And it's things like that where I would feel, if I already feel like I don't spend enough time, even though we spend a ton of time with our daughter, to then have to divide that time even further, I would kind of feel a little selfish with regards to that, just because I want another child, now one other child has to go with less. Yeah. And again, that's not necessarily the case for everyone, but at least in our case.
And we're blessed that my mother is still alive and well and lives with us.
Great support system.
Because if not, either there would be a 4-year-old running around here asking why and touching everything in this room. Everything. Or I wouldn't be able to take advantage of these amazing projects. Right. And I worked very hard. I continue to work very hard. We both do. And I just... So, what I learned it during the pandemic because it was the first time I ever seen the inside of a therapist office, because a lot happened that year. And, I mentioned that my grandmother was in hospice during the time that Luna was born. So Luna was born May 9th. My grandmother passes away May 20th. So it really felt like, one supreme has to die for the next one to rise. Yeah. So it was like a full circle moment for us. So mentally, I went through a lot, that year. And I learned that it's okay not to be okay. And I also learned that it's okay to put yourself first. Because if airplane safety has taught us anything, we have to put our masks on before we can help the children. So if I'm not okay, how can I be okay for her or any other child or my husband or be a good son, be a good business owner, be a good friend? So it's one of those things that people sometimes are fortunate enough that they just can have children. So they do. We know a couple that I swear to God, the girl just loves to be pregnant. Like, I feel like she loves the feeling.
She'd be the perfect surrogate.
Yeah. And that's what Alicia told me. You know, she was like, she had 3 of her own, and she had Luna, and after Luna, she went on a second journey with twins, and then called us and said, I won't do it again for another family, but if you're going to do the sibling journey, I will do it for you. So that kind of put a little pressure on us, and that kind of like forced us
to make that decision.
You called me during that time. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember I called you about contracts and what do I do, and again, there is no rule book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There's no info resource office that you can walk in and say hi. My best friend right now, he's deciding that he's decided, I want to have a child on my own. I don't want to wait for me to have a partner. You know what I mean? And that's okay.
Yeah.
And that's okay. The thing is that, so here's the other thing that you mentioned about what are we doing with the rest of the embryos now that we decided we're not going to have a kid, at least not right now. Yeah. You know, I have family. Again, I have a best friend who wants to be a parent so bad. I have a cousin who's like a sister that she's realizing that her biological clock is ticking and she's just not in a relationship right now. And I contemplated really giving her the embryos. Well, I'm contemplating. Joe has his reservations on it.
Yeah.
He feels that I wouldn't emotionally be able to
Well, I don't think it's necessarily
withstand it.
I think it's an emotional.
I think I can, but
it's an emotional process, you know, to even make the decision as to what to do with them. You know, it's really easy to let auto pay continue to pay the storage fee, and you know, it's just automatically
With a
saved out of our
cringing
credit
though.
card. You know, we get additional travel points. You know, it's not a big deal. But you know, making that decision, it's kind of been a roller coaster ride for us. You know, I don't think we've actually fully committed to a decision either. You know, mostly because, you know, what if we get to the point where we decide, man, we donated them to science, or we donated them to a donor program, as we were discussing yesterday, or what our options really were. That was another thing. You know, we didn't know what our options were. We just assumed keep auto pay going, you know, and just keep charging the credit card.
I just felt like, at least, obviously, if I legally did everything right, at least I can see how it could be confusing. But I don't know. I was raised in a home where my cousin was basically like my sister, not the one that I want to donate, but another one that, again, when coming from Ecuador, her you know,
It's very cultural.
she was.
Yes.
So
They start living with you, they're automatically a sibling.
And because you start doing things like siblings, you go to the library together, you go on vacation together, you stay up and watch Titanic when it was still part of a 2 cassette thing.
And our big saying of donde comen uno, comen dos, comen tres.
Exactly.
Yeah.
My mom always said that. My mom would always said that. She goes, I make $1 and it's 25 cents for me, 25 cents for Joey, 25 cents for my mother, 25 cents for my niece. That was my mother's daughter, essentially. So, you know, so I kind of felt like, well, if I do this, I feel like I'm being a good person and helping someone who really wants to be a mom. Will it be a little like shocking? It could be. I'm not going to lie. At the end of the day, I am a Cancer, so I cry a lot, but I'm very productive. But I don't know. Like I really feel like I could, and I'm speaking out of context, but I feel like I could withstand it. Like I feel like I'm strong enough to be like, you know what, it's okay. I know that it'll be cringing when there's like controversial moments, but I don't know. It's just something I've.
And it's a decision. It's a decision again that you said it, Joe. You guys haven't made that decision, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You know, you can make that decision now. You can make that decision in a year, in 10 years, whatever you decide. And I think, not just for parenthood or building your own family, but life, that is life, right? Yeah. Decisions, that's it. And I know you mentioned you guys are very quick with decisions. You want to do something, you do. But certain things, you kind of have to sit on it for a little bit, right? It's not that easy, like to put in an offer to a property you want. Like sometimes you do have to sit and you have to, okay, well, if this happens, what are our choices, right? If I do donate them to, my cousin, what's going to happen? How do I feel about that? And I think that that's what what I tell every single parent, gay couples or heterosexual couples, like, it's all about decisions and what makes you feel comfortable. There's not one right decision. Do you understand? If you decide to discard them, no one should ever turn around and say, oh my God, why did you discard those? That was your decision, right? And that felt right for you and your situation. And you sat on that decision, right? For months, for years or whatnot. So I guess to really summarize all of this is, life is all about decisions, for sure. Parenthood is all about decisions.
Parenthood is a disease.
A disease,
and
not
there is
decisions.
no cure.
And so it's decisions, and like building your family, same decisions. Just because you are a gay couple, when you first started thinking about having children at what, 22, 23?
I thought being gay meant that I didn't have to have kids.
Exactly. So there's a lot of,
And then I meet him.
and then you're like, wait, now I want to have kids. What do I do? There are so many paths for everything in life, right? Not just for family building, for career, there's so many paths. And I think that ultimately, what I tell you, what I tell, my clients, what I tell anyone, it doesn't even have, even just women who are, their clock is ticking. You have decisions, freeze your eggs. You have decisions, contact that adoption agency. You have decisions, create your own embryos. You have decisions to make. Like, there's so many options out there. All you have to do is make a decision. That's it.